this video, we're going to talk through eBay's new big announcement, the eBay Card Vault. Let's get into this. Now, usually on this channel, when I'm coming up with a topic for a video, I go through a process. I write a script, I do some research, different things like that. Every once in a while, I might just have a little conversation. This time, there's not a whole lot to research. It's just mostly some off-the-cuff thoughts about the little bits of information we do have about this recent eBay announcement. So I thought it would be good just to kind of chat a little bit about my initial thoughts about the whole thing and kind of what I'm kind of hoping it might look like. What are some of the advantages, disadvantages, just from where I'm at now? You know, I think there's so little that we know that a lot of what I could say here might end up being proven wrong later, depending on what the reality ends up being. But I think it's nice to kind of just chat, see where we're at with this and what my thoughts are about it. A summary of what eBay announced is that they're going to be starting a project that's like an eBay Vault. So think something like ComC, think something like Ship My Cards, a place where, you know, when you buy or sell cards, you can send them or keep them in eBay's vault and then sell them from there to other sellers immediately, similar to how it might work on ComC. In ComC, you have your cards up in your platform, and when you sell them, they sell immediately and they go right into that other person's account. And if that person wants to get it shipped back to them, they can. If they just want to keep it in the vault, they can. So similar to ComC. Now, of course, you know, eBay has a huge platform, a huge audience. More eyes are on eBay than any other sports card site in the world. So, you know, that's going to be a big advantage for them compared to any of the other sites that have vaults or that are trying to run auctions or that are trying to sell cards. You know, they have certainly a big advantage over PWCC and Golden and ComC and all those kinds of things. Though I don't think it's going to necessarily affect those other things, those other platforms too much. I think, you know, people who have chosen to use those other platforms have good reasons to choose it, and I don't think there's necessarily a big enough reason for them to completely shift into this other space, unless eBay just does something amazing. I don't know. But there's a few things about it that are quite interesting. You know, like, you know, we'll go into some of them. You know, the first thing from myself living internationally that jumps to mind is this is the first thing that I've seen from eBay that actually makes eBay a possibility as a thing I might consider using. Because, you know, before, living internationally, the international shipping cost on each individual card is so much. But if I can send in a big stash and then sell cards eBay is now something that I'm going to be thinking about than I really hadn't before. And that might be true for a lot of other international users. I could see how for people selling cards, you know, in Australia or in China or in other places where selling one by one, that shipping price is so high, this could make a big difference for them. Even people in Canada, you know, I think I've noticed on eBay that sometimes when sellers from Canada, even though the shipping cost is not that much different than domestic US, because it's coming from Canada, they might have an issue at customs. The price is a little bit higher. Sometimes those auctions and those bids end up being lower than if it's just somebody selling it and it's going to be shipped from domestic. So I could see how this could help a lot of international shippers for sure, a lot of international sellers for sure. It's also another thing that kind of jumped out to me when I was looking at that little corny little advertisement is they might have an option when you buy a card, the raw card, to be able to get it graded as an add-on, which is also really interesting depending on how they do that. Now, on the one hand, if they have somebody who somebody who can actually look at it, there's these kind of pre-authentication or pre-service organizations like Nash Cards I've heard of, and some others that will look at your cards closely and tell you if they think it's worth sending in for grade, this kind of thing. If there's something like this, then I could see how that could be useful. If they don't have that and it's just you buy a card and then if you want to, you send it off for grading, but you can't really like see it closely, I don't know how useful that service is. People could be sending in cards that have all kinds of problems that they can't see from just a scanned image. So, you know, depending on how they do that, that could either be a really great service or like a really unnecessary service. But if they have some kind of like reliable pre-screening, pre-grading process that you can do and it's not prohibitively expensive, you know, places like Nash Cards and other places like that, it's usually not prohibitively expensive at all. Sometimes it's a free part of the whole package. If they do that, maybe that's an option. Or, you know, on the other hand, if you're sending in a bunch and you know within that bunch of cards you're sending into the vault, you have 10 of them or 20 of them that you know you're going to want to go get shipped, that also could make it a little bit easier where you can go ahead and send those 20 off to get to get graded, and then once they're done, they come right back into your eBay vault, and you don't have to make yourself the middleman. You can just make that a little bit quicker, make it a little smoother. So for that, I could see it still being a useful thing. Another thing the advertisement talked about was where eventually down the road they're going to do the fractionalization, I believe it's called, where you can buy a certain percentage of a card if it's a really valuable card, and you can put your cards up for sale in that method. And that's fine. I mean, I'm not too excited by that. I'm sure for some people that's going to be something they might use. I mean, there are other platforms for that already. I don't know if using eBay. I mean, I guess eBay has more eyes on it, so maybe if that becomes something that people look on eBay for, it could be good for some. I don't know. I'm not big into that space, so I don't know. I'm not too excited or whatever. But maybe I could see why they would do that. I mean, if they're already doing the vault, it's not too much of an additional headache to add in this particular feature. It's just to have to put it into the system in the right way, so that and store it in the right way so they know it's in this category. It wouldn't be too hard to add that on, and I could see a few people wanting to take advantage of that, so nothing against it. Now, on the other hand, there are some challenges I could think of with this. That eBay's a big company, and already trying to deal with eBay for anything is extremely annoying. I've never been able to communicate with them about anything, and I've had some really major issues with eBay just internationally. I mentioned in a video later, I was just talking about my experience as a sports card seller in China, and I don't think I'm releasing this video before I'm going to release that one, since this one's more time sensitive. But in that one, I talk about how selling internationally from eBay on eBay it's simply not possible for me in China. As soon as I set up my account was closed down really quickly, saying suspicious IP activity, and I couldn't set up a new one. So it's and trying to deal with that, with actually getting in touch with a person, has been impossible the whole stage. I've never been able to get in touch with a person to try to figure out this whole situation. And I worry about that, with something like this. If you put something in the vault, if you have some kind of issue and you need to talk to a person, is there going to be a person to talk to? When I've had issues, small things that I've had issues with, like on ComC and on StartStock previously, I sent an email, I got a response back in a timely manner, dealt with the problem. I could talk with a person. They weren't these monstrous robot companies that everything's running on an algorithm, and everything's running on just some kind of automated platform. There was people I could talk to. This one I would worry a little bit. If there's some kind of issue or some kind of question, what's the customer service process going to be like? So that's one issue I have. Another is I just hope that there's an awareness of how big of a thing this is in eBay, on eBay's side, that this is essentially, the way I'm thinking about it, this is not a business add-on to eBay. This is an entirely extra business. Really, and it needs its own staff, and it needs its own everything. It's almost a separate business. I mean, it will have the eyes and the platform of eBay, but it will need a lot of additional things that are separate from anything else eBay is doing. So I'm hoping, if they do this, that they're really dedicating the staff to it. When they do other things, when they added their authentication service recently for sports cards, they partner with CSG, and so then CSG is doing most of the work. eBay doesn't have to add a whole lot of extra stuff to their already very complex business. This one is just eBay, and they're not like partnering with ComC or something like that. They're doing it themselves. So I'm hoping that besides, I have no doubt they have the capacity to pay for some human resources and to pay for getting a really nice vault and have a really good system for all that. I have no doubt they have the financial backing, the financial resources to do all that. I mean, it's eBay. But whether they'll do it well, whether they'll be able to nurture a team who can really understand this space and can really do this well is a big question. So we'll see how that goes. They don't always roll out things super smoothly immediately. It's not in their DNA often, because it's a big, complex company with a lot of moving parts. So this needs to operate itself almost entirely independently, and we'll see if that's the direction they're going to go. But overall, I think it's a great move for them to make. Really, I mean, they're already in this space of sports cards, the main sports card provider, even though it's only a small part of their business. They're the big dogs in this, so it makes sense for them to go down this path. And it makes sense also, with Fanatics taking over the sports card industry in many ways, they're shaking up a lot. They're going to shake up things. They've started to shake some things up a little bit. They're going to continue that. So eBay's going to need to keep up and to stay in the lead. I think it's the kind of situation right now where if eBay was to kind of rest on their laurels, it would get to that point where somebody else could potentially get a large portion of their market share. Something Fanatics, if Fanatics was to start up a marketplace, if Fanatics was to start up doing a bunch of the stuff that eBay does, they have the financial backing to make a big step into that realm, and they seem to have the interest to kind of like conquer everything sports cards. So I could see that eBay needs to not just keep things status quo. If they don't continue to progress and continue to improve and continue to do new things that are appreciated in the hobby, there's too many other good options for people to go to. And once more and more people become more familiar with these other options and start using these other options, like whatever Fanatics might end up doing in the future, then it could hurt eBay's business. So I could see how this is an effort for eBay to kind of stay in the lead and to have a good head start about anything else that might come up later. So it makes business sense. I think it's good. I think this could be a very good thing. I'm personally pretty excited about it, depending on how it rolls out. Now, I'm not gonna rush to use it. In fact, like I was saying, being in China, there's extra steps I have to figure out to make sure that internationally it's not going to become a big headache. But if it's not, and if there's some way I can use this, I probably would eventually take advantage of this, but I probably won't right away. This is the kind of thing I would want to kind of see what's happening. Is this going to work? Is this a space that's going to really be what I want to use? I don't know. I mean, I do see some advantages. On ComC, I love what I've got going on over there on ComC, and I really enjoy the process. But if this does everything ComC does and just gets a lot more eyes on the cards, I could see using it. Some, for sure, depending on what the fees are going to be, depending on how seamless they can make this. And I'll still want to continue supporting ComC. I like ComC. So I'll continue to want to use them. I'm not a big fan of eBay's as a business itself. I'm not the biggest fan, but and I could see using this on down the road, depending on how it all comes together. But it will be really interesting to see. Now, as far as other things like that I hope that become part of this, I think I mentioned a few of them. Like if they're going to do a grading service, for example, or a grading add-on rather, that they have some kind of pre-screening thing, so that if you haven't had a chance to see that card yourself, that you can feel more confident. I hope that they can do something like that. And companies that do that some of them are very reliable and some of them aren't. So whether eBay is going to be a place that's reliable on that is tough to know. I imagine at the big company like eBay, there's a higher turnover of staff than in a smaller company that kind of nurtures a small kind of family environment, and you feel a sense of ownership with the company. I feel like with something like this, the people who work for eBay, it'd be harder to get a sense of like, this is like, a deeper sense of commitment to the organization when it's so massive. It's just how I would think about it. So I assume there's going to be a little bit more turnover than you would have. So if you have a lot of turnover, are you going to be able to maintain a staff that can do some kind of pre-screening thing in a really reliable way? Or can you partner up with something like Nash Cards or whatever, something that does it? I don't know. So I don't know if they're going to do that kind of service, but that's one thing I do hope they do. Otherwise, the grading add-on it'd be too risky. You could end up getting a bunch of PSA 6s or BGS 6s or whatever, and that would be annoying. And I also hope that they give options for where you can send it. I know that they have a close relationship with CSG. In the advertisement, they had BGS. But if you have the choice of where to send your card to get graded, that would certainly be nice. And even if they have some kind of a lot of these pre-screening options, that you can send in bulk things and you can get a bit of a discount. If there's some kind of little eBay discount that allows you to send cards in for grading with some kind of small discount, that would be a nice little addition. So that's some of the small things I hope. I also hope for international users, they have some specifically made up things that allow it to be a smooth process for international users. For like reasonable international shipping and being able the ability to put like a bunch of cards together into one shipment and send it off internationally, and that they'll even have the little receipts and stuff that show the value of things, so that if it needs to be seen at customs, that can go through customs, and the customs doesn't have to look at each independent card and kind of figure out what the value is, but there's something that's there that can be relied upon at customs and make it a little bit less of an issue than it could potentially be. Things like that. If they really set up their system to be able to work with international users, personally, I would find that real advantageous. I mean, the only way I could really be using it in my current situation. What else do I hope? It'd be really nice. One of the things that I think would be excellent about this, I was watching a video on Bench Clear Media. Ty has been talking about how you how you can make an income, a full-time income selling sports cards. And he was breaking down the number of hours. I highly recommend this video. He was breaking down the number of hours it takes for each step, for each element of having an eBay business. And really, like 3/4 of the time was basically on listing and on shipping. That's the biggest chunks of time. And if this takes away the majority of that, that's pretty revolutionary. Doing it, and then they'll ship it also, and they send it off to the other person, so you don't have to worry about some of that. That's pretty good. They might also allow for videos to be on your sport trading cards. So for the lower end cards, that might not matter, but for the higher end cards, you can take the video and show the video. And so they can see all the corners and see it from different angles and get a better sense of what it is that you're actually buying. That's nice. I mean, that's not going to save you time, but that's certainly a good service for the buyer, and could take away some of the buyer's remorse, and could take away some of the sellers who kind of try to hide issues and stuff like that. If you show a video, all that's gone. So that's also really nice. I mean, I could see a number of other things that are nice too. I mean, I think eBay has an advantage in the sense that there's already been some things that have been tried by places like ComC or StarStock before, or PWCC, and they can kind of pick and choose some of the things that have worked and some of the things that haven't worked. I don't know if they would try something like do breaking on the platform, and then the cards that you break, you can, instead of having it shipped back to you, you can have it shipped into the vault, and then ship back to yourself later in a bigger amount of cards or something. I don't know. There's different options for that I could see some people taking advantage of. So just in general, I think it could be very, very good. It just depends on how complex they make it, how much of a team they have to really nurture it, and kind of how they can move forward in a way that doesn't become too intertwined with all the other complex things going on in a business like eBay, where it can kind of operate independently. And if they can do all that, it's interesting. It's certainly interesting. Certainly something I'm going to be keeping my eye on. But anyway, I just wanted to kind of share some of my initial thoughts. I don't know exactly what it's going to be. Nobody does. But it's just kind of interesting, something to keep in mind as we move forward. So anyway, that's it for this video. Peace.